Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.
This podcast serves Middle Tennessee every weekday morning, and it's made possible by member support. Learn how you can make a difference at WPLN.org/support.
This is the Nash Villager podcast. It's Monday, November 24th. On this day, in 2016, members of the Tennessee National Guard were called away from their turkey dinners to help with fighting a fire that would become one of the biggest natural disasters in state history. I'm Blake Farmer, in for Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with some historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. The Guard's Black Hawks had been flying missions for a week, dumping Bambi buckets to help contain fires burning in and around the Smokies. Then on November 23rd, an acre-and-a-half fire at the chimney tops began to burn, and the Weather Service warned of strong winds. When the Guard arrived, it still wasn't clear just how dangerous the situation might be. But on November 28th, the winds stoked and spread the fire, covering 500 acres. That morning, a voluntary evacuation order was issued for an area just up the hill from Gatlinburg toward the park. But by the night, all of Gatlinburg was under a mandatory evacuation. Once people realized the seriousness of the situation, it was too late for some to flee. 14 people died. Nearly 200 were injured. It was the largest and deadliest fire in the eastern United States since 1947. The National Guard in Tennessee issued a press release while the aftermath was still playing out, listing the ways soldiers aided in the response and saying the Guard can fight wars and respond to emergencies here at home. The Tennessee Guard has been pretty good over my years as a journalist of publicizing its moves, whether it's deployments abroad or responding to emergencies. But since being activated to assist with security in Memphis, the Guard has been remarkably quiet. Then, November 14th, we got our first release. Not about their security patrols that have been so divisive and unwelcome by local officials. There was no mention of supporting arrests or deportations. Instead, they announced that one of the guardsmen saved a woman's life. She was apparently overdosing. He administered Narcan just in time. In just a few minutes, we hear from a mother of someone who is homeless, who describes it as feeling like watching someone drown. That's coming up after the newscast.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.
I like to say Nash Villager in the morning, this is Nashville in the afternoon. I'm Blake Farmer, the new host, and yes, WPLN's Midday Show is also a podcast, and we understand lunchtime listening may not be your thing, but that doesn't mean you have to sit out. You can listen wherever you get your podcast, like right here, or ask your smart speaker to play the latest episode of This is Nashville. From WPLN News in Nashville, I'm Blake Farmer. Tennessee's special congressional race is near its end. Early voting ends on Wednesday, with the general election on December 2nd. Middle Tennesseans from Clarksville to Nashville to Wayne County will determine who replaces Mark Green in Congress. WPLN's Mariana Bacchiao reports from the polls.
Overlooking U.S. Route 70 and the neighboring Dollar General, the City Hall of Pegram, Tennessee has opened its doors as an early voting site. Here in Cheatham County, President Trump won with 72% of the vote last year. Republican congressional candidate Matt Van Epps has received Trump's endorsement. Some voters say they cast a ballot for the former state commissioner because
there's a lot of work to do because a lot of work didn't get done 4 years ago.
Making sure that President Trump has the support he needs to carry out his agenda. I just like the moral values. I like to get away from the issues of transgenderism and homosexuality, and I like somebody that's back in the way Trump's got the country going.
That was Pam, Michael, and Jeff. But not everyone in Cheatham County is happy.
I don't know how you could say the price of groceries or anything are coming down unless you've not been to the grocery store. Everything's more expensive.
That's Becky. She says she voted for Democratic state lawmaker Afton Bain because she's worried about her daughter, who's just graduated college.
And she has no chance of being able to live on her own. Everything is expensive.
Affordability issues have given Democrats wins in other states, but the 7th District is still a majority Republican voting bloc. Mariana Bacallao, WPLN News.
Early voting totals so far from Davidson County show that 13,000 voters have cast their ballots in locations with the largest number at the Lentz Public Health Building and the Bordeaux Library. In total, that's about 11% of total active registered voters. October 2025 was the busiest month for the Nashville airport in its 88-year history. The Tennessean analyzed airport data and found that the airport maintained a streak of growth despite the government shutdown, air traffic controller shortages, and general unease about flying. Nearly 2.6 million passengers traveled through the airport in October, and those travelers helped set another record as well, a record number of concessions sales. Travelers spent more than $22 million across BNA's restaurants, bars, and shops in October. Nashville is in the middle of an intense debate over housing density. There are multiple pieces of legislation seeking to rezone parts of the city. Now, WPLN's Cynthia Abrams reports the debate has escalated to an ethics complaint about one council member.
Around a dozen Nashvillians gathered in front of the Metro Courthouse, holding signs like "Conniving Poser" and "Dishonest equals Horton." That's District 20 Councilmember Roland Horton, who angered a group of Nashvillians when he successfully rezoned the Nations for denser development. That group first tried to recall him by gathering signatures, but has now pivoted, says spokesperson Davis Hunt.
The climate of fear it's created is so severe that some neighbors are afraid to submit their signatures publicly, fearing retribution.
Hunt refused to answer any questions. The council member says that many of the people filing the complaint don't actually live in his district.
I don't know why my opponents, primarily from other council districts, are filing a formal ethics complaint instead of signatures on petitions.
Horton says he has had overwhelming support from constituents. Cynthia Abrams, WPLN News.
Attorney General Pam Bondi will travel to Memphis this afternoon to meet with law enforcement and give an update on the so-called Memphis Safe Task Force. Bondi will be joined by the governor, as well as U.S. Senators Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty. In September, the Trump administration announced it would send federal law enforcement officers to Memphis to address violent crime. However, an investigation by ProPublica and MLK 50 found that residents have reported concerns over unnecessary arrests, racial profiling, and harassment by the officers. An MLK 50 analysis of 1 day's worth of arrest records found that nearly 3/4 of the 51 people arrested on a single day in October were not charged with a violent crime. A spokesperson for the U.S. Marshal Service denied racially profiling residents in the majority black city. The mayor of Martin, Tennessee, has resigned following a state investigation into alleged misuse of city funds and his arrest on official misconduct charges earlier this month. Randy Brundage has led the northwestern Tennessee city for over 20 years. According to an email obtained by the Weekly County Examiner, Brundage submitted his resignation to Martin's alderman on Friday afternoon, 11 days after a grand jury indicted him on 4 counts of official misconduct and 5 counts of theft. The now former mayor, along with his daughter Natalie and the city's economic development director Brad Thompson, are due in court today for an arraignment hearing. Martin City Council is also scheduled to meet tomorrow afternoon, where aldermen will consider Thompson's employment. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has deemed Nashville Super Bowl ready. The AP reports that Goodell said all that the city was missing was a new stadium like the one under construction right now. Nashville would still have to go through the selection process, but Goodell said he had every expectation that the Super Bowl will come to Nashville in the future. The new Nissan Stadium is still under construction, aiming to be completed in February 2027. It's considered the largest commitment of public funding for an NFL stadium, with roughly $1.2 billion in state and local bonds to pay for part of the $2 billion price tag. The NFL's announced host for the Super Bowl through 2028, with the game nearby in Atlanta that year, the AP reports. You'll find more news anytime at our website, WPLN.org. Families of people experiencing homelessness endure their own kind of complex grief and anxiety. As part of this year's series called In My Place, This is Nashville managing editor Tasha A.F. Limley invited several family members to go deep on their experiences, including a worried mother named Rona.
Both of Rona's sons have struggled with homelessness and addiction. And while her older son is in recovery now, her younger, he's in his mid-30s and is living outdoors in West Nashville. Last year, Rona dropped him off somewhere she thought he stayed at the time, and she's not seen him since.
It was heartbreaking to see him just kind of drift away. And it took about a 2-year process, I guess, before we started seeing it really snowball. And last year, last Christmas night was the last time that we seen him. And it's very difficult to talk about because when I dropped him off in Nashville, he's over in the West Nashville area, and, I'd given him a hug, and, he hugged me and just said, he just hated this. And I said, well, I'm going to have to figure something out, it's going to get better, and he said, I sure hope so. And he said, I hate it for Navy, talking about his daughter. And I said, she's going to be okay. Like, we're going to get through this. And that was Christmas night of 2024. And we've not seen him or heard from him since then. But we text him. We text him all the time, and we try calling him all the time. And we try to reach out to him. But, it's... please let us help you. We're not giving up on you. Telling him about his daughter, just let him know that we love him. I told him that his brother has this place that he can get him into to help him. That we have people out there that's willing to help him anytime he's ready to go, just to let us know. We'll come get him. Sharing a little bit of the fact that his mama's mind is broken at this point. My heart just, when you have your child and you can't save them, it is like them being in that water and drowning, and you watching them drown and having to stand there and watch them drown. And you've thrown in life preserver after life preserver, and they just refuse to take it.
So Rona's son is still alive. I do want to say that.
Yes.
We're here with Lisa Wysocki of Colby's Army. And before the break, we were talking about the loss of her son, Colby, who died from an overdose while he was living outdoors at the age of 23. Lisa, this has got to hit close to home. What are you hearing in this clip?
Well, it just brings me back 16 years, just and farther, just knowing that she's going through what I went through and what a lot of other people went through. And her analogy about throwing the life preserver out is so appropriate. I mean, it just hits home. And, not every person that we see in homelessness has addiction issues, but they have something.
Yeah.
They have something. And sometimes it's they're slow cognitively, or they have some physical issues, or they've lost family, they don't have any support system, but the result is the same. The causation is different. And I my heart just breaks for her. And I'm just praying that we'll have a positive outcome, and we do see her son pretty regularly.
So you've been doing street outreach in that area for a number of years, and so both Zach and Rona.
Yes, I do.
She told our producer that she sees you as her lifeline to him. How are you balancing his wishes to not be in touch with his family and with the desperation we can hear and can imagine in this clip?
Yeah. I will say that I do text Rona and I'd say, hey, we saw your son.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about all that I will say, because he has expressed his wishes very strongly that he doesn't want to be in touch. He's not ready. He doesn't want his family to see him like this. He's a wonderful young man. and he does have a lot of promise, and I'm just hoping he'll get through this. But we have to balance the needs of the family with the needs of our clients and our people. And if he doesn't want his family to know where he is, I ethically cannot tell them where he is.
Is it usual for outreach workers to be in touch with family members?
Not frequently, but sometimes, sometimes. A lot of times they will give us their family member as an emergency contact.
Okay, yeah.
So in that case, we feel like it's okay to reach out. And a lot of times if we don't see somebody for a month or 3 weeks or whatever, we might call a family member if we have a number for them and say, hey, have you heard from so-and-so? We haven't seen them. We're just checking.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they say, oh yeah, they called, last week. So we do, but not usually.
So my brother, Mike, has experienced a lot of these kind of things. And I didn't know that. I knew that he'd been incarcerated. I knew that he was experiencing multiple addictions. And so nowadays I would have put 2 and 2 together and gone, well, he's probably been homeless at some point. But it was one Thanksgiving, we happened to be home at the same time. And he referred to himself as us homeless people. And my mind was kind of blown. Like I was already working with people on the streets. I was already founding the Contributor, those kind of things. And it was like, I didn't realize it was in my own family, even though it was right in front of me. I just knew that since I was a little girl, there was always this, he's 11 years older than me, anxiety over, where is he? Have we heard?
Mm-hmm.
I saw my mom crying in church, those kind of things, knew what it was about. She would talk very openly about not knowing where her son was. And of course, days before cell phones, it's a whole other thing.
Oh, for sure.
And so this one Thanksgiving, I think what hits me in Rona's clip, remembering that Thanksgiving, was it came time to go drop him off at the mission in town. And that was just such a full circle moment for me. Like, oh my God, like here I am going to drop my own brother off at the mission. And he was looking for some plastic bags to put a book, a comb, a couple things in, because what he would do before going in is hide those in a bush so they didn't get stolen where he was staying. And I remember my mom, she was a very little woman, and she was down on the ground on the floor in the kitchen digging under the sink to find the really good plastic bag. Wow. And I just remember looking at her in that moment going, like, she's looking for the good bag so that her boy can wrap his things to hide a book and a comb in a bush before he stays at the mission. And it just, so when Rona says she dropped him off, like those words stick with me. Yeah. That feeling of dropping this person, I admire him more than just about anybody in the world. He's my big brother. Yeah. And that feeling of dropping him off somewhere is so helpless and not knowing when you're going to hear again.
Mm-hmm. And your mom, the only way she could care for her son was to give him the good plastic bag, and that just became all consuming, all important for her. And I totally understand that.
And that, I know there have been times in my life where I breathe easier when he's locked up. Mm-hmm. I know his address. Yes. When he's in jail, I know his address. So, so that's what I'm hearing in this clip.
That excerpt comes from the final installment of the In My Place series hosted by Tasha A.F. Limley. Find episode 19 in the This Is Nashville podcast feed. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, even on a holiday week. So subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nashvillager newsletter too. You'll get different perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories that we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/Nashvillager. Thanks so much for listening. As Nina says, let's make this day a good one. Tony Gonzalez will be your host tomorrow. Nina's back next week.
Funding for the Nashvillager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.